Hey everyone, are you guys using social media to promote your brand? Are you guys using social media to get the word out there about your services? If you're a local business or you're a small business, you need to listen to this episode because today I have the privilege of interviewing the great Laura Shipman one more time, and she's going to talk to us today about the state of social media. So without further ado, enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Hump Day. I hope you are having a rocking week thus far. As I said in the pre-intro, I have a treat for you today. The treat is a repeat visitor of the show. She is probably, in my opinion, the most knowledgeable person when it comes to social media. So what other person to end this wonderful and crazy year, 2021, after another crazy year of 2020, to talk about social media other than the legend herself, Laura Shipman. How you doing, Laura?
Hi, Frank. Thank you for that intro. That was wonderful. It's so great to be here.
It's the truth.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you were on the show last year, and actually, I never told you this, Laura, but you were the second most listened to episode last year.
No way. That's cool.
So I know that this topic is going to generate a lot of other listeners this year as well. So for the people who were misfortunate and not being able to hear that first episode, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name's Laura Shipman, and I am a social media manager, a social media coach, and a fellow podcaster. And I love everything content creation for social media. I think it's a lot of fun. I love playing with words and graphics and visuals just to stop the scroll. And that's my mission and my passion.
Yeah, I first heard that term "stop the scroll" from you, actually, Laura. So
oh, really?
Yeah, and then after a while, it started popping up everywhere. I'm like, oh, okay, well, because as you know, social media is not my gig, so that's why I probably miss all those things. But awesome. So last year, you gave us, like I said, some great content. Why don't you catch us up of what's going on in Laura Shipman's world? Then I have some other questions. I want to talk about the state of social media as we roll into 2022. But before that, catch us up on what's going on, Laura Shipman.
With Laura Shipman. Well, Laura Shipman's been really, really busy lately and just doing a lot of content for a lot of different clients. And I love in every industry, in which I love, because I feel as though that gives me a competitive edge with social media, because what's working for one industry may not necessarily work for the other. And I like to get in there and get my hands dirty and see what works, what doesn't, and then what some of the commonalities are. And I think with our discussion today, I'll be able to tell you what some of those commonalities are so that people who are listening, no matter what their industry is, we can give them some really good ideas and tips and things to use going into 2022.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of where I am. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned a couple of things that's interesting. I mean, you said, you like to know what works, what doesn't, especially when you go across industries. How do you handle that? Because normally I like to always set the expectation to our customers and say, hey, what I've done in the past for clients just like this, these are the results you're going to get from a lead generation standpoint. But when I don't have numbers to go by because I don't have a lot of clients in that space, it's just different spiel. So how do you handle that? Is there like a method that you use to set the expectation of what to expect?
So to do that, really, it's really kind of hard to do because every
Hmm.
industry is very different. And it's almost like you need a crystal ball to look and see what will happen. And if there's any sort of a crystal ball that I could tell people to look into and how to get results would be pay attention to your engagement. And by that, I mean, pay attention to how you are engaging with the people who come across your page, how you're not engaging with them, and what are you doing to get engagement. So, engagement can be any number of things. It could be a like, a comment, a follow, any of those things. So, when you get those pieces of engagement, what are you doing to nurture those? So when you get somebody who follows you on LinkedIn or follows you on Facebook or Instagram, how are you reaching out to them? What is your plan to reach out to these people and nurture them? When people comment, are you just ghosting them, or are you engaging in the conversation? Or when people like your content, are you going over to their profiles and seeing what they're posting and seeing if you can drop some value on their content? So I think if you want to see results, you have to pay attention to your own personal engagement practices.
Okay.
Does
That
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 make sense?
that makes sense. So yeah, engagement is key. Because I've noticed it in my own. I play a lot. I play a lot in the LinkedIn profile, and I
Mm-hmm.
do notice if I don't, like respond to any questions that people have, or if I miss it because I'm too busy, I do notice that it kind of stops showing more posts to other people and all that kind of stuff, and I guess you lose credibility, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing you have to remember, and this is pretty much true on any social media platform, you have an individual algorithm with every person on that platform. So, for example, you and I, Frank, on LinkedIn, LinkedIn sees us and they've assigned a certain algorithm to our communications. So, if
Mhm.
we communicate a lot on LinkedIn, or if I'm really engaged in the content that you're putting out there, LinkedIn notices that. And then it's going to serve me more of your content in the future because they know that I am, I find that information important and I need to
Right.
know more about what you're providing. So you have to think about it on that term in those terms, and just know that there is an algorithm for every connection you have out there, and it's how you nurture that algorithm. You may not know what that algorithm is, but I can tell you it all starts with engagement.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So I am going to start with the topic at hand here. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little
Okay.
bit, Laura, because like I said, the guru of all gurus is Laura Shipman when it comes to social media. I call you the living legend, as you know. So I'm going to go one by one on platforms, and so we can go. I was going to say let's talk about the state of social media in general. But
Uh-huh.
I think I'm going to go one by one. I think I'm going to change. I'm going to audible a little bit here for
Okay.
all you football fans. I'm going to pull an audible here and say, let's go one by one on platforms and your feel for what's going to take your business to the next level in 2022 with each platform. I'm going to start with Facebook/Instagram, since it's kind of the same
Mhm.
thing, although a little bit different. Let's start with those two.
So I would say with Facebook, groups is one of those things that I think about 3 years ago, that Facebook really started to focus more in on groups.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a group surrounding your business, I think you're missing, or if you're not part of a group on Facebook, I think you're going to lose out. So, for example, a lot of times people ask, well, how can I find my customers or how can I find my clients on Facebook? And I believe they're in the groups. So, if you are a marketing person and you want to market, let's say, orthodontists, there's a group for everything out there, right? Go find those groups where the orthodontists are going to. Or if you want to get plugged into your local community, there's so many of these Facebook chat groups within these local communities that are always asking for recommendations or referrals or questions about. So I think you need to have a business page on Facebook, but don't get discouraged about the inactivity on your Facebook, because that's not where it is. When we first started out, we talked about engagement, and the
Right.
same thing holds true for Facebook. The engagement in the groups is where it's going to be. So that's what I would say about Facebook. Now, Instagram, I love Instagram. It's one of my favorite apps out there because it's got so many facets and there's so many ways that you can deliver content. And a lot of times, well, let's talk about the regular feed post. Okay. So if you put a post out there, you may not get a lot of attention or you may not get a lot of engagement. You need to know how to work that post. And that post is, I actually talked to somebody not too long ago, and we were talking about how everything is a square on Instagram, right? Your phone is a device that you use that's a rectangle. The image size that you put out on Instagram is a rectangle.
Right. You
have to stand out. How can you make a graphic that is going to maybe look more fluid, more flowy, more less angled on Instagram so that it stops the scroll? So that's the first thing people see in that regular post, right? Is the image that comes across. So you need to stand out. So stand out without being a square. You don't want to be a square. You want to also, most people have the dark mode on Instagram, which is, the dark screen behind. Yeah. What kind of vibrant colors can you use? Or do you have a really good accent color in your logo or in your brand package that you can accentuate on Instagram that's going to make you stand out? So those are the two things with the graphics. The other thing that I think is important when you're using a standardized post on Instagram is putting a hook right on the graphic. So you want to say something like, my ninja tips for, and fill in the blank. All of a sudden you're getting that person's attention, think that this person's got ninja tips that I need. So they want to go ahead and read what the caption says. And then,
just as a question, my ninja tips for, and then leave it blank, or should you say what it is?
Fill it in for whatever.
Okay.
Okay. So yours might be my ninja tips for SEO or something like that.
Right.
So you want to come up with a very edgy hook, and then repeat that hook in the caption part, but then take it a couple words further so that people get very intrigued and compelled to read the rest.
Gotcha.
And then what you want to do is make sure you finish that blog post with 30 hashtags that relate to the post. And those 30 hashtags are the search terms that people are going to use to find your post. So
30 hashtags.
30 hashtags. Use all 30 of them. I mean, you've got...
Really?
You talk about a lottery, right? And if you have 30 opportunities to put a ticket in to win the lottery, aren't you going to use all 30 opportunities?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with hashtags. No one really.
Let me stop you for 1 second.
Sure.
I know you're on the road. I don't want you to lose your train of thought. But let's go back to the first one that we talked about, which was Facebook. Does that rule apply with this hashtag? Because I've been hearing rumors about that hashtags don't work on Facebook and all that. What's that all about?
I think they do, because I search for things on Facebook and I will see posts come up and people are using either hashtags, in their Facebook posts. So I think this is how I see it. If a social media platform is going to allow you to use hashtags, use them. They're not going to dock you for it, right? They're giving you a tool to use. So why not use it? And so when I post, I usually post to Instagram and Facebook simultaneously. And there is so much debate about this, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing to do. The way I see it is the Facebook user is very different than the Instagram user. Yes. And people are very, they're very platform loyal. So a Facebooker is a Facebooker is a Facebooker, and an Instagrammer is an Instagrammer. And they're going to stay in their two little worlds, and they're very rarely are they going to really cross over. I use a tool that Facebook provides called Creator Studio, and it allows me to post to both Facebook and Instagram simultaneously. And I mean, we can come back another day and I can teach you guys how to use Creator Studio, but it's a great way to schedule posts to both Facebook and Instagram. And I use the hashtag. So I use all 30 on Instagram, but then it automatically posts over to Facebook. So there's 30 ending up there as well.
So I've got a slew of witnesses saying that the great Law Shipman will be back in January to teach us how to use this thing. So that's coming. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah. And it's free. It's free and it's a time saver. I love it.
Awesome. So I'll ask my admin to book that for us.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. Continue with Instagram. I just wanted to, when you said the hashtags, but you
Mhm.
didn't mention it in Facebook. I wanted to make sure I didn't lose that, because I've been hearing that you can't use it on Facebook. It's not effective. Yada yada yada. But it makes sense. Put it there. Right.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm a firm believer, if the app is giving you the opportunity to use a certain tool or technique, use it.
Yeah.
They're not gonna say, hey, use this and then like slap your hand for it. Um, so I was getting back to the 30 hashtags on Instagram.
Yep.
You need to think about those hashtags as the person searching for your content. And you know this with SEO is finding out what those keywords are, or keyword phrases that people are going to use to find you. And
Right.
on Instagram, you can use a single word, or you can use a long form hashtag, which could be a phrase, or it could be
Right.
like a tagline, anything like that. So yeah, so that's the standard post on Instagram. Now there are many other ways to get your feet wet, or not. That's actually the way to get your feet wet, is using those standardized posts. But Instagram offers Instagram Live, IGTV, stories, and
Yeah.
reels. All of those things are video. And the one portion of Instagram that's really taking off right now is reels. And it's Instagram's version of TikTok. And we know how powerful and how popular TikTok is. You want to go over to that world. And this short form video is where people are actually winning at social media. And if there is one global statement I would make about social media for 2022, is that video, especially the short form video, is going to be where you will win everything. It's where you're going to get your most engagement, where you're going to get your most reach, where you're going to find your most followers, is by participating in the video portions.
Yeah. 60 seconds, right? Because that's the
Yeah.
max you can do. 60
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah. And every platform is a little bit different. Like TikTok just went up to 3 minutes. You can actually do a 3-minute TikTok now. So you really begin to embrace that. Take any sort of course or watch YouTube videos on how to do Instagram Reels. It's a game changer. And it's so much so, like TikTok has really led the way in this. It's, Facebook's picked up the Reels, Instagram has, and YouTube has even picked up these short form videos too. So if so many platforms are and LinkedIn, I think are they doing it?
They
I
don't
don't
have
think
reels.
No, they have video. I'm trying to think. There's another
LinkedIn
platform
is usually the last ones that
to jump on. Yeah.
on these things.
But if you've got 3 major players using these short form videos, it's time to pay attention to that. And if you're camera shy, you got to get over it, or at least find somebody who is the face of your business, who's not camera shy, who will get out in front for you.
I have to say, if we're a small business, I would say no, get over it then. Don't put someone else there. Now, if you're a larger firm, 15 million or whatever, yeah, you could find somebody else to do it. But the small businesses, get out there. Get out there. Get over the camera. Get some therapy or something. Get over the thing and just hop on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and the thing that I would say is start with baby steps. And if you really don't want to get your face in front of there, use your hands. Like, do it from the perspective of someone looking over your shoulders. Or sometimes what works really well is just like a scenic picture, and then words flying in and out of the frame that tell a story or that give tips or whatever it is. There's ways to do it that your face doesn't necessarily have to be there, but someday you're going to have to put your big boy pants or big girl pants on and do it. You just got to do it.
Yeah, just do it, man. I say, I know I have a couple of clients of mine who are therapists. If you need help, guys, just hit me up. I'll set you up with them, because it is the new video is the way to go.
It really is. It really is. And then over in LinkedIn, actually, I'm doing a lot of work on LinkedIn lately, and I'm finding the more value that you can drop on LinkedIn, the better you're going to be. And it's these shot in the arm. Well, actually, there's a 2-pronged approach that you want to take to LinkedIn, and it's going to take some work, but the payoff, once you stay consistent with it, is huge. The first one is participating in articles, like creating articles for your company page, like taking,
100%.
and it has to be new original content. Like just don't rip off a blog post from like 3 months ago off your website.
No.
It has to be new and original. These algorithms are too smart for that, right? So that's the first thing, is using articles. And then what I would do is create posts, like social media posts, maybe 3 times a week that maybe support that article, that maybe, debunk some myths around that article, or maybe it's a polarizing comment or something. Do something like that. And the more, I told somebody the other day, we have this term in social media, which is, and I think it's in all media, but it's feed the beast. The beast is always hungry. And somebody was asking me once, well, should I only post 3 times a week? I said, no, 3 times a week is okay, because it gives you consistency, but really that beast is always hungry. As long as it's high valuable content and people are getting something out of it, then continue to create that. And then watch your analytics and see which posts, just like you said at the beginning of this podcast, you said last year, my episode was the second most popular in all of your episodes. You want to look at your post that same way and then create more of that, because that's going to get you the exposure that you're looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. I love LinkedIn. As you know, that is the only social platform that I absolutely indulge in, and I love it. And yeah, articles are phenomenal. It does an excellent job. And one thing that I've noticed about LinkedIn also, Laura, it is how Facebook was, say, I want to say 7-8 years ago, prior to it becoming huge with the paid ads. You can get so much reach on organic posts, just even irrespective of the articles, on organic posts using just LinkedIn. Yep. And what I do is, to your point, I post daily. Because I want to feed the beast daily. I even feed the beast Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, which is a great way to do it. I like to use Hootsuite as my tool to schedule posts out on LinkedIn. And, you can do your own original content on LinkedIn, and then you can share articles too from outside sources that maybe support what you're saying. So that's a great way to feed that beast. It doesn't always have to be your own content. You can use other people's content as well and share it and give them credit. But it is always best if it is your content, but just to shake things up a little bit. A video from YouTube that echoes how you feel about something is a great way to do it, because it adds a little bit of video to your feed. Now, some people go crazy. They'll hear advice like that, and all they'll do is post outside articles and videos from YouTube. Don't do that, because then you'll become white noise at that point.
Yeah.
So
I mix it up. It's my stuff is usually, it's about 50-50. So it's 50% my original content and 50% stuff that I get from someone else and say, hey, here's where I got it from. I'm trying to change that in 2022 to 60-40 or maybe even 70-30.
That would be great.
But it requires a lot of time, though. So.
It really does. And that's the thing. We're talking about feeding the beast. Don't create content just for the sake of creating content, because if it's not highly valuable content, don't put it out there. I would much rather see you post 3 times a week with very good content that people can really sink their teeth into, versus, 5 times a week of stuff that's just fluff. So be very careful about that. Yeah. And
so
then go ahead. I was going to say, one of the things people, kind of get tripped up on, well, what makes good content? And,
right. That's a good question.
Yeah. And I just want to give some tips to some people, because it's all in the delivery of the content that you put out there. So I find, instead of just writing like a little micro blog post, which is what social media tends to be, shake it up a little bit. See if you can create a visual tutorial or mini training. So I love taking a series of like 3 to 5 images and putting them on social media, and it takes you through a series of steps. Another way you could do it is creating an infographic. Infographics are great. They don't have to be these long, gigantic pieces of graphic art. They can just be within that square that we were talking about, just simple things that you could put in an infographic. Checklists are another great way to deliver content information, and it just makes your feed a little bit more enticing than, say, somebody else's who's just putting up a wall of words and a picture of something. So think about how you can deliver your content and how you can deliver your value differently.
Okay. That's great advice. I hope you guys are taking notes on this because, again, this is why she was the second most listened to episode last year. All right. So we touched on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So I'm going to move on to a different platform that I'm still a little shocked at. The one that you turned me on to last time. I mean, I knew about it. I just didn't know it was one of your favorites, and that's TikTok. We already mentioned it a little bit. So I'd love to hear from you about the state of TikTok, where you think it's going to go in 2022. But before I say that, I want to tell you that, thank you for telling me about TikTok, because that's what turned me on to. So I had it downloaded, never even turned it on. And after our episode, I started playing around with it. I personally do not use it still. But my team does, and they enjoy it. So it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. So for anybody who has not taken the leap and gone to the dark side with TikTok, they have cookies over there, I hear. No, I'm kidding. But TikTok is one of these things, once you get into it, you might get addicted to it. So be very careful. And it can be a time cow, because what they're doing is they're playing on that dopamine hit in your head, right? You've got those, 60 seconds of content that it's there. You get satisfied from it and then you move on. And I said that they did move up to 3 minutes. And I don't think that's across the board. I think it's only certain accounts that have access to 3 minutes right now of content. But what I love about TikTok is, first off, you will learn so many crazy things. And, for your industry, if you say your team is on TikTok, I bet they are learning from other people new strategies on how to do things, like from an SEO perspective. I know I go on there and I see what other social media people are talking about, and I find new tools that I never knew about. I love it. So I think what you're going to see, I think this is what you'll end up seeing, because I'm beginning to see the trend now. You're going to see more small local businesses use TikTok. So think about your average dentist. Think about your esthetician, your hairstylist, your nail salon. Those people are going to actually do really well on TikTok, because there is a local aspect to it, and TikTok knows where you are. And I will get things about my hometown all the time in my feed of things that I didn't know existed. Like, for example, maybe a local pumpkin patch that just popped up, and somebody locally is taking video, or even the venue itself is taking video on TikTok about this pumpkin patch. It piqued my interest, and now I've got to go visit that pumpkin patch. Right. So I think it's really a great place for the small business owner to make themselves known to their audience. Because through using the location and also hashtags is a big game player for TikTok. You can really reach your target audience as long as you're putting out valuable content. Show behind the scenes, show how you do something. I think I saw an orthodontist. This was a really cool idea. I saw an orthodontist do this. They took braces, and the color of the braces, they said, these are the best colors that match brown hair. And they did like a little TikTok of different braces with the colors so that you could, whatever. And these are the braces that look best with blonde hair. Just get creative. It doesn't have to be this long video, 30 to 60 seconds, actually even 15 seconds you can do on TikTok with information about your business. So I think it's a big game changer for the small business owner if they sink their teeth into it.
Yeah. I saw this. I saw an attorney do a TikTok on the difference between hiring an attorney and trying to do it yourself. It had these results. It was kind of creative. I liked it. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And this is an attorney. you know?
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I think that if you're not sure how to do a TikTok, just go ahead and search for whatever your industry is on TikTok and see what other people are doing, and take it that idea and make it your own, and do it for your business. I think you'll be surprised at how much exposure you will get from a simple TikTok that's 15 to 60 seconds long.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
Mhm.
amazing. All right. So I want to talk to you about something that I forgot to mention last year about, and because I know we don't talk about this platform a lot.
Mhm.
I want to know, what is your take on Pinterest, and what do you think is that platform is going?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because actually I was going to bring up Pinterest myself. Um,
Beat you to it.
traditionally, yeah, you did.
Mhm.
Traditionally, Pinterest is not considered a social media platform. The
Right.
platform doesn't identify as a social media platform. It actually identifies as a search engine.
Search engine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you're not on Pinterest, you're missing exposure that you should really be trying to dive into. And all that you really need for Pinterest is a really good graphic. You need a really good hook, like we talked about before. And then you need a call to action. And before you do the call to action, you need the hook, and you need a good tip or something so people trust you. You want to gain that trust from that Pinterest image that you're creating, right? So you've got a really flashy graphic, you've got a really good hook, you've got a little bit of information on that graphic that's either a tip or something that's compelling, and then a call to action. And so what you want them to do is either click to go to your website or your landing page or whatever. You don't really want them to stay on Pinterest. You want them to save your pin, but you also want them to take action, whatever that action is for your business.
But when they save the pin, isn't that a good thing for you, for the
Oh,
algorithm or something like that?
absolutely. Absolutely, it is. So, yeah,
Mhm.
you do want them to save it, but ultimately you want them to take action on something.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Of
The
course.
reason, yeah.
Yeah. So what works well in Pinterest? I want to stay a little bit on this topic because I get a lot of questions on it, and I'm like, I don't know, ask Laura. But but so like what works well on Pinterest? Some people tell me that checklists work well, like, create a checklist, as a IFO, irresistible free offer. They say that it's good to sell books on Pinterest. Tip, like you said, tips, or um, video is not offered on there. But
They
like
have
what?
video pins now.
Oh, they do.
They do
Okay.
have video pins. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. So what? So you tell me, what is it that works well on there?
So there's two schools of thought, and it depends on where you want to go. So you have what was a traditional pin long time ago, which used to be like an infographic. Like if there is any place that an infographic gained its claim to fame, it was on Pinterest, because you would have, like you said, a checklist, or you would have some sort of an infographic that explained how to do something or gave statistics, things like that. You'll see now that people are moving away from that, because the marketers in us kind of got smart and said, well, I don't want to give out all my information on Pinterest, never to have them go to my website. So it depends what you want to get out of the pin. If you want people to really to save it and for that pin to go viral, then yes, go ahead and do that infographic. Or if you're not even sure what an infographic is, go to Pinterest and look. You'll see, type in infographic, and you'll see what an infographic is. And they can get really detailed, or they can be very simple. The other thing is, I'm doing what I said before, is like that little formula of a really edgy hook, something that kind of makes you an authority in the space on that graphic, and then the call to action for them to leave Pinterest, to go figure out what it is that you do. But I think anytime that you can show any sort of value. So if you think Pinterest got really popular with recipes, for example,
Mm.
the recipes are given, right there within the pin. Now you'll see people taking a very nice picture of the recipe that they're promoting on Pinterest and giving a little bit of a description about the recipe, but you have to click through to the website to actually get the whole recipe in most cases.
Mm.
And there's also a character limit on Pinterest as well. And I can't remember what that character limit is right now, but that's another reason why you wouldn't be able to put maybe a full description of what you're what you're talking about in the picture, because there is that character limit on the description portion. Another thing that works really well on Pinterest are before and afters. So transformational things. So you'll see a lot of interior designers showing you a room before and then a room after. And then you'll get people, they'll do those shoppable pins too, where people will, do fashion, like they'll put together an outfit and then you can shop the different pieces of the outfit through Pinterest is another thing that works well.
So I know this was banned. Well, it's hard to push through on Facebook, but I was curious if they can do this on Pinterest, the before and after shots on weight loss stuff.
Oh, I don't, that's a good question. I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea about that one. Sorry about that.
Nah, no worries. I was just curious because I had a weight loss client. We do a lot of Facebook ads, as you know, and
it's tricky.
That was hard to push that through on that ad. It was terrible. So we just said, sorry.
Yeah. And now see, I haven't done that much with Pinterest as far as weight loss and stuff is concerned. So I never came across that. Now you've got my interest peaked and I want to see if people actually do that. I'll have to do a little bit of research on that when we get off because
I got the great Laura Shipman thinking here. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So just a couple of more here. So I consider YouTube as a social platform. So, let's talk about YouTube a little bit as a social. What do you think that's going in 2022?
I think, again, it's another great place for small businesses to thrive. I think here's the thing, where we are today with media consumption, especially, watching TV and stuff like that, we're all streaming for the most part. Yes. And YouTube is the biggest streamer of all. And they've really kind of, made a place for themselves in the media world there. So I look at someone like my husband, he'll spend the first 45 minutes of his morning just consuming information and videos on YouTube. And it's where it's funny because a lot of the major networks don't cover the stuff that he's really interested in. And so as a small business owner, if you can tap into that person who's craving the information, get in front of that camera and do it. And again, if you don't want to get in front of the camera, you can hire like these. I watch these types of videos all the time. The whiteboard videos, it'll be somebody just telling me stuff like on a podcast. It's almost like listening to a podcast, but they're drawing all these, characters and stuff on a whiteboard. But if you can deliver high value information about your industry, do it because people are looking for it. I mean, my husband's in home restoration, and sometimes I'll look at the videos he's watching and he's listening to what the plumbers are saying. He's listening to what the tile guy is saying he's listening to what the roofer's doing. It's just amazing. So don't think that your industry doesn't have a space on YouTube, because I'm telling you, it does. If you have an interest in it, a million other people have an interest in it too. Just be that person who is taking the bull by the horns and just going for it and putting your content out there.
Yes.
What I love about YouTube, if you do it right, and if you have the time to do it, if you can create a channel where you can get people, I forget what the stats are. It's like, I'm going to screw it up. It's like 4,000. Is it 4,000 watch hours and so many likes? Maybe it's 10,000 people who subscribe to your channel and 4,000 watch hours, something like that. You can monetize your channel and make passive income just by putting out these marketing videos. And the other thing I love about YouTube for small businesses is it's a great way to share videos to your website without slowing down your website. Am I right?
Yes.
So 100%. So you can create all these little videos about your business and then take that little link and put it on your website. You can put it on Facebook. It can go anywhere. So I think YouTube is a fabulous idea for businesses in 2022.
Yeah, it is. It is. I like YouTube a lot. And, and like I said, I can give the name of my therapist if you don't want to go on Facebook, on YouTube, but put your face out there, because I think it's important for a local business or small business to do that. All right, so I have a few more. I've never talked to you about this platform. It's called Alignable. I don't know if you've played on that at all. If you have, what's your take on it? If you haven't, it's okay. We can move on to the next.
I mean, I did it first when it first came out. And I'm just going to be honest, I got frustrated with it because it was a constant notification going to my phone. And and I just wasn't getting any value out of it. And maybe because I didn't dedicate enough time to really discovering what it was, but it
Right.
was just one of those ones that for me, there wasn't a love connection there. Do you remember that show from before,
Mhm.
Love Connection, before showing
Hey,
our age now?
Where do you think I got the whole term 2 minutes and 2 seconds from?
There you go.
I always say 2 minutes, and I'll be back in 2 minutes and 2
2
seconds.
seconds.
I got
There
it from
you go.
Mr. Chuck Willery. Yes. I love
Too
that
funny.
show.
Yes. And then the people who are younger than us are going, what the heck are they talking about?
The hell they talking about? Click.
Who are these people? Go look it up. Go look it up.
Yeah, look it up. It's, use social media to look it up.
Look
there
it
you go. So you got frustrated with it.
Yeah. So I can't really speak much on Alignable. Now there's
Okay.
another one that's kind of, well, not really similar, but Nextdoor. Have you ever heard about Nextdoor?
Yeah, I use Nextdoor. Is that considered a social platform?
It's probably not, but
More like a local thing where you can get like a plumber, you can get a roofer. Yeah.
And I got to tell, we just
let's talk
recently
about
moved.
it if you,
Yeah.
Did you? Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
we
know that.
recently moved just an hour away from where I was living before.
Okay.
And I'm not familiar with the area that I'm living in now. And so Nextdoor was a real lifesaver for me. Like I loved it. Compare that with Yelp. I mean, the two of those things side by side for local information and for referrals and stuff. I really liked Nextdoor. So.
Yeah. Nextdoor is pretty cool. I like it as well. All right. So here's a last one. This is the last one. It's going to be a controversial one because I want to know if this is dead or alive.
Okay.
And it's the Tweety bird.
Yeah. I do some tweets for some clients. It's not my most favorite platform because in order to be, I think, really get the exposure you're looking for, it's a time dedication. Like you need to be tweeting like 12 times a day because the feed just turns over so quickly. And probably 12 times a day is not enough. And I think this is, and it's just one of those, and some people swear by it. And I think it really depends on who your audience is, because if you look at Gen Z right now, they communicate on Twitter all the time. But, and they love chiming in on the issues at hand. Gen Z is all about Twitter. So it really just depends about who your audience is and where you get the most engagement. So if you get a lot of engagement on Twitter, then stay there. But like I'm thinking usually what I tell my clients is this: if you have a lot to say that's high value and it's almost like breaking news, like people need to hear these updates all the time, then embrace Twitter fully. But if it's not, don't force yourself to go there. And there's so many social media platforms out there. And there's one I'm surprised you didn't mention. I'll bring it up in a minute. What I would do is find out what your favorite platform is and dominate that platform first, and then add in your next favorite and your next favorite. You don't have to be on all of them. You just need to be on the ones that really attract your audience and figure out where they are. And that's where you need to be.
So before you give me the other one, let me ask you this question. So I prefer LinkedIn. I've always preferred LinkedIn. That's the one I like to play with. However, I know that I have to be, at least in my opinion, I have to be on Facebook because it's the most popular platform. What's your take on that?
I think I would use Facebook as a strategy or as a tactic in your overall strategy. So if LinkedIn is your favorite and that's where you get the most engagement, because Facebook is the most popular one out there, I would treat that as your business pamphlet. and you need to have a presence there. It's almost like having a website. And today, Facebook's business page almost acts like a mini website.
I know.
So it's got all the elements that you would have on a website. It's got an about section. It's got directions. It's got hours. It's got all these things. So, and like I said, if you're going to pick Instagram as another platform you want to be on, it's kind of a no-brainer just to post to Instagram and Facebook at the same time because it's no extra effort.
It's connected,
It's connected, So I think it's smart from a strategy standpoint to have a presence on Facebook because that's the first social media platform people kind of check out when they're looking at a business. And if you don't have presence there, but the important thing is if you decide to have a page on Facebook, keep it updated and, post, a couple of times a week. So it doesn't look like you've abandoned it.
Yeah. I post daily as well, even on Sundays. So.
Yeah, it's smart. And what was I going to say about that? It just builds your credibility.
And that's the only reason why I do it. I don't get any business out of it. I get business out of LinkedIn, but I just use it so that in case someone wants to check it out, it's there as well.
It's a marketing tool. Yep, absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So dazzle me with what I missed.
Oh, the one that you missed. It made a big splash. And then I don't know where it is so far because I haven't had a lot of time to dedicate to it, but it's Clubhouse. Have you?
Oh, yeah.
So Clubhouse.
Yeah, I have not dabbled in it a lot at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So Clubhouse is interesting because you get a lot of experts there who it's almost like a live podcast is basically what it is.
Yeah.
And you can have panel discussions and it's a great place if you want to learn things. I would recommend going to Clubhouse, but to start a Clubhouse account for yourself and keep it active, it's a lot of work. At the beginning, when it was first starting out and nobody had an account, you could get in front of anybody. Now the fight's a little bit more, it's harder, right? To get people to listen into what you have to say. Right. And at first you're kind of talking to the walls until somebody shows up.
Right.
But it's an interesting one. It's a fun one if you're looking for something a little different and you don't have to be camera ready for it, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's all audio based. It's so much. There's just so many things that you can play around with in a day. So I have not dipped into Clubhouse at all. I opened up. The only thing I did is I started my account. That was it. Yeah. So I guess that's why I missed it. Okay. So a quick question for you. So let's go down each. If you can tell me and the audience this, like based on demographic, like where should you be per platform, based on demographic. You mentioned Gen Zers, let's talk about millennials, let's talk about some baby boomers if they're still out there, some Generation Xers. Yeah. Which that's where you and I are. So
yeah. Gen X. Oh, they say some funny stuff about us being like the what do they call us? The ones that have no fear and because of the way that we grew up and stuff and whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My daughter calls me a millennial in disguise because I know all these technology things. But. Yeah,
I feel like I'm kind of surprised too because I get into all the tech things and but I'm a Gen Xer. So I would say Gen X. You're going to find Gen X on LinkedIn. You're going to find Gen X on Facebook, and you might find a couple of renegades over there on Instagram, and you'll find Gen X on TikTok. Gen X is very popular on TikTok. So that's where you want to go for those guys. Gen Z would be, they'll be on Twitter. It's funny. The ones that are emerging into the workforce, you're going to see them on LinkedIn more. Definitely all over Instagram, definitely all over Snapchat still. Snapchat is still a thing with Gen Z. The millennials, and I think you'll see the millennials will be on TikTok. Oh, and Gen Z will be on TikTok too. You'll see the millennials on TikTok. You'll see them on Instagram for sure. I think you'll see them on Facebook just because they feel they need to be there to stay in touch with people. With family and things like that.
They're older generation.
Yeah, exactly. And then the boomers. You'll see them on Facebook. You might see some of them on LinkedIn. Who did I miss? What generation did I miss?
But that's really it.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much all the gens. I mean,
yeah,
that I could remember anyway.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
I think of my father. He's the silent generation, and he's on LinkedIn. Yeah. He's like, I don't do Facebook. I'm like, okay, Dad.
yeah. None of my parents are on any of those things. So
yeah.
They don't believe in any of that. But anyway, that's another topic for another discussion for another episode.
That's right.
But all right. So I have one last question for you.
Sure.
Is there anything that I did not ask you that you think will benefit the audience?
Let me think. Just keep your content fresh, full of value. I always like to say actionable information is the key to anything. And the content that you want to post out there is you want to make it educational, entertaining, inspirational, or rewarding. And by rewarding, I mean, if you're a business and you have some sort of a coupon or a freebie or something like that, let your audience know about that and give them a reason to follow you so that they can get rewarded every once in a while.
Yeah. I used to follow a guy. I forgot his name, but I don't have rights to tell him his name, so I won't say his name. But he used to use a term called edutaining, and make sure you're edutaining.
That's smart.
And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. All right. So can you, before I say goodbye to you today, can you tell us how I'll put a link on the show and say, how do people get a hold of you? Is there any gift you want to give to anyone so they could get to know you a little bit better? What's that information like?
Yeah. So if you go to laurashipman.com/resources, and Laura is LORA, I have a ton of free resources there, but one of the ones that I have there that I think is really important, people always get stuck on the hooks, right? Like how can I make an edgy hook, something that's going to catch people's attention? Go there. I've got some there. I think I called it like scroll stopping hooks or something like that. Or captions that stop the scroll is what it's called. Download that because that will be really helpful. And, I gave it to my daughter because she was doing some social media stuff and she's like, Mom, this is amazing. Why aren't you charging for this? Because what they are these little prompts. And if all you need is that one little prompt, it'll help you fill in the rest and it'll make your job a lot easier. So laurashipman.com. I can be found on Instagram. And then I have my podcast too, The Laura Shipman Show, where I talk all things social media.
Yep, I forgot about that. The Laura Shipman Show. It's a great show. You got to check out that podcast. I'll put a link to that podcast as well in the show notes so you guys can check that out. I think I forgot to do that last time, so I'm sorry about that, Laura. You can slap my hand later.
No.
So, all right, guys. I think this is awesome. I think you guys are all prepared now to take on 2022. Just listen to this. I ask you to listen to this episode over and over again so you can get a foundation as to where you are and just get out there and do it, guys. You guys have it in you how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, Laura's here to help you and you know how to reach her. So with that, I am going to bid farewell to this episode. This has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Laura Shipman, the living legend. Peace out until next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.